You're listening to Tim McKinney of ITW Evercoat. Evercoat, the brand trusted by more shops for automotive, commercial, and marine repairs than any others for almost 70 years. Bringing you continued innovations like Light Speed Repair System to streamline and improve repairs at the speed of light. Optex filler with color-changing technology and Optex Super Build with a built-in guide coat. And now, here's Tim.
Hello everyone, this is Tim with Evercoat. Hey, we launched the Light Speed system at the SEMA Show last year, and since we've had some questions come up that I'd like to try to address right now. So one of the questions that's come up that's been kind of unique about it is, can I mix it with some of the other products like a filler or a putty or a resin to try to make it either thicker, thinner, or whatever the case may be? Well, the case for that is no. Unfortunately, yes, it is a polyester, but it's got a photo initiator in it with the proprietary resin blend that just doesn't make it compatible with other materials. So it can't be mixed with some of the other products. Well, what makes that different? Well, it's because of those photo initiators that is what make it so different. The Lightspeed Optex creates a curing process from the exposure to the light and with the benzoyl peroxide cream hardener. So you've got to only use Evercoat cream hardener to go with it, and it will still reach a sandable stage. But if you want to accelerate it, you've got to use the right style of light, which is a light that's going to run at 395 nanometers, and it's going to have 30 milliwatts per centimeter squared, or it could be referred to as 30 millijoules. The light that we use for our system, if you look at it, and please don't do it with the light on, trust me, you don't want to do that, has actually 9 large LEDs inside of it. So it's got to have a certain amount of brightness or intensity in the UV spectrum at the 395 nanometers, which is on the higher end, to be able to cure the products properly. Next, is the cure any better than the Rage Optics products? Well, yeah, it is. It's a little bit tighter structure when you take a look at it under a microscope. We found out that when it does set up and cure with the UV light, it is going to be a little bit denser. Doesn't mean it's harder, but it's going to be denser in the sense of comparison to the Rage Optics. Another question that's come up is, well, what if I apply it over FiberTech, or if I put it over top of some of the other fiber reinforced products? And nothing is going to happen with that. It would be the same as if you were to put it over top of like a piece of fiberglass or SMC. It's still going to cure. So putting it over a fiber reinforced polyester filler product, so long as it's been properly catalyzed and sanded, nothing's going to be any different about applying over fiberglass, like I said. Now that it's summertime, is it going to cure a little bit faster with it being a little bit warmer? Yeah. If you've ever worked with a polyester product, and if you're working with it, all the tech sheets say at 72 degrees, but if you're working with it at 90, it's going to be a shorter working time for that. So yes, it's going to be a little bit longer, a little bit less time to work with. If you're looking to extend that working time, same with other polyester products, put it in a cooler area. Maybe put it in the office overnight where it's air conditioned, store it in that area. Same thing with the Evercoat cream hardener. Store that in there as well. That will help to to slow down that process so it doesn't cure so fast. What happens is, if it's already warm and you put the hardener into it, it doesn't take a whole lot of energy to kind of push that curing process along. So would recommend keeping the product cool. What about curing it in the sunlight? We're going into summertime. No. Here's the reason for that. There's just so many different variables. The intensity of sun in the southern parts of the states, Florida, Texas, is going to be different than the intensity of the sun in the northern parts of the states, or even up into Canada. So the closer you get to the equator, the more intense the sun's going to be. So that's why, that's one variable. And what if clouds go overhead? What if we're talking about fall or even winter? We know it works with the light. Just to stay consistent, use the particular light that we have from Evercoat, or use one of those lights that, again, has that 395 nanometer wavelength and 30 milliwatts per centimeter square, or 30 millijoules. All right. So another question's come up. What about the outside of it? Can it have a tacky surface on top of it? With the UV technology, some of the other products are very tacky on the surface. Ours might have a little bit of tack if you were to illuminate it with the light and take the light away exactly at 3 minutes and start to sand on it. If it has a little tack on the surface, give it a little bit more time. Give it another 30 seconds to a minute. At that point, it's not going to be loading up the paper. Some of the other products we've seen definitely do load up the paper. So this is a lot better in that sense that it's not going to load the paper up nearly as much. What's the working time for the Lightspeed filler? Well, the working time on that's about a minute longer than Rage Optex or Rage Ultra. So if you're using those products, you've got a pretty good idea how long that's going to be. But the idea for that is, well, if it's longer, can I use it for larger repairs? Well, no, because if you're trying to use the light to accelerate it, remember, the footprint of our particular light is about 8 to 10 inches in diameter. So that's the footprint you want to do the repair inside of. So I'd say work backwards. If you think of the primer being applied, you want to keep the primer inside of that, and obviously the repair needs to be smaller than that as well. All right, so another question comes up, could I use it for larger applications? Because that extra working time for like a restoration? No, that goes back to what I just said from before. Because if you use it for that larger area, you're going to need to illuminate the second and the third product in the process with the light. If you just want to use the product, it's a good product, but you'd be using it without the light unless you've got a light that is going to be brighter and have a larger footprint. So it's really meant to be used for smaller repairs, primarily for something like a fast lane repair, an express lane repair. We've got a lot of painters that have said that it's a great system for them because they're kind of catching those repairs before they go into the spray booth, and it's an opportunity for them to repair them without having to pull the car out of the lineup. Some of the technicians that are doing the repairs at the lots where there are the mobile facilities, this is another opportunity. And again, not curing it in the sun using the light, but because of the speed of the system and the thickness of the system you're going to be able to get. This is basically a regular style body filler that can be accelerated with the UV light. So it has its benefits for that. Can it be used interchangeably with some of the non-Lightspeed products? Well, for that I would say if you're looking at trying to pick and choose out of it, if the Lightspeed system isn't going to necessarily work for you, hey, maybe just staying with the Rage Optex and the regular 440 Express. But the Lightspeed 440 can also go over top of regular Rage Optex. So you've got some opportunities to be able to use it with different things. All right, so now we kind of bring that up to talking about the second step of the process, the 440 Express Lightspeed, the pinhole eliminator. That is a product when you apply, you only wait 30 seconds, and then you illuminate it or activate it with the light for 30 seconds, and you're done. There's no catalyst in this, so it has to be cured with the UV light. One of the questions that came up is, well, what if I don't light the whole thing? Is the rest of it going to kick off? The light is the catalyst for this particular product. And like I said, it can go over top of Rage Optex. It can go over top of Rage Ultra. It can go over top of the putties. So if someone's done a repair with Metal Glaze Ultra, Metal Glaze Optex, and they've got a little area they want to address and make sure they don't have anything to deal with in the booth, and they're in a short time frame to work, this may be another option for that. But just like with the regular 440 Express, this particular product, once it's applied, it has to have a sealer or a primer surfacer applied over top of it. It's not meant to be applied and then have a base coat go over top of it. So it's still, both of them still need to have a sealer or a surfacer applied. And if you're going to be using either of these products, the 440 Express or the 440 Express Lightspeed with a waterborne system, well, with the regular one, allow 15 minutes to give it a scuff. With this one, after you activate it after the 1 minute purge, the 30-second purge and the 30-second light, that's 1 minute total, then you can just take a gray scuff pad and scuff that one up. So both of them with the gray scuff pad, after they reach their curing stage, the proper drying stage, would be fine and would suffice for that. Application is going to be the same for both of the products, the 440 Express and the 440 Lightspeed, in the sense that you use the 439 blue applicator sponge, rub it over the repair. When it's rubbed over properly, you're going to be able to see through it. And after that, like I said, with the Lightspeed, you're just going to illuminate that entire area with the light. So some people have asked, well, what's the big benefit for that? Well, like I just said, if you're using the regular 440 Express, you got to wait 15 minutes. With this one, it's a 30-second purge and a 30-second cure. So in 1 minute, you've got everything done for that. The last part of the system is the primer. And with the primer, it is a 1K polyester that also has the photo initiators into it. It works with waterborne systems. It meets the ASTM B117 testing methodology. That's a long reference for saying it has corrosion resistance into it. It is going to look like a urethane. It's going to spray like a urethane, but it's a 1K polyester, so it gives you the benefit of not having the shrinkage like some of the urethanes would do. So that's going to be another big plus for it. The maximum film build for this is going to be 9 mils or 225 microns. You're going to get about 2 to 3 mils per coat. So 3 medium coats is going to be good if you're spraying it with a 1.4. If you're spraying it with a larger gun size, 1.6 or 1.8, you're probably only going to need 1, maybe 2 coats. You don't want to go more than that 9 mils, and here's the reason. When you apply the light to cure it, you're actually curing it from the outside in, the way the photo initiators work. So we don't want it to be above 9 mils. It's kind of putting the limitation on how much activity takes place with that light. So you've got to have the right light and no more than 9 mils to make sure the product's going to work at its peak performance. So as far as substrates, there's more information on the website about that. But just to kind of talk about some of the questions we've had about it, are areas like, well, if I don't expose everything to the light, is it going to cure? Is it going to dry? Nope. Unfortunately, the way this product is designed is it has to work with the light. The light is the catalyst, so everything has got to be illuminated. So again, make sure you're not exceeding the 9 mils. You're using the 1.4 to 1.6 tip to apply the product. If it's not spraying right with the 1.4 to 1.6, you can put a splash of acetone into it, but do not go more than 5%. 10% at the absolute max. Just a little bit into it's going to make it spray much easier, and it will reach the film build that we're talking about. One of the questions came about, how do I cure the entire car? You're just not going to be able to. It's really only meant for those spot repairs. So remember, 8 to 10 inch diameter repair can all be done inside of that. It will work for this product, the 440 Lightspeed, and for the filler to be able to be used. It's primarily meant to be used for spot repair applications, or again, for those fast lane scenarios. Can I spray the primer? Do I need to spray it with a spray gun that has a silver or aluminum cup or a black cup? Yeah, that's going to help. But most people aren't spraying in the sun anyways if you're in the booth. If you're spraying in the booth, you're not dealing with the UV wavelength out of the lights for the booth, so it's not going to be kicking it off. Most of them are going to be fluorescent that I've seen. But it's not a bad idea. Just keep the light from getting down into it. It's not going to kick off right away. So you'd be okay for a spot repair, but in a pinch, wrap some tape on it. You just want to keep the light from getting into it. One of the other questions that came up was, well, what about going over top of a cured urethane where you have a sand through? Yeah, it could work, but the question is going to be the sanding comparability between the two. Is the urethane much softer to sand than this particular product? Is this product softer to sand than the urethane? If they're not sanding at the same rate, maybe better just to put another coat of a urethane on the sand throughs. If you're using this product and you sand through, obviously yes, reapply it over itself, and that would be the better way to go with it. All right, again, the question that came up the other day for me was, well, how deep will the light penetrate into it? Like we said, make sure you're not exceeding 9 mils total film thickness before you use the light on top of it. If you don't have a wet film gauge, I would highly recommend testing on an old piece of metal, an old fender or an old hood. Run a wet gauge to it and see where you're at. You're going to get a pretty good feel for the product if you're spraying with the 1.4, where you're going to be, or with the 1.6 or a 1.8. And maybe, again, you maybe not need 2 coats. You may not be able to get by with it with just 1 coat. but not to exceed that 9 mils total thickness. All right, so that pretty much answers the questions that we've had coming in. Tune in for more information on the products. As I've always said, stay safe and stay safe out there.